Now this top flower up here is kind of out of focus and in the background and actually cropped right off the top of the composition. I want it to look real and like it's there, and I don't want it to look rushed or different than the other rows, but I also don't want it to call a huge amount of attention to the edge of the painting. So I'm sort of just roughing it in and allowing it to just fade off. I'm even painting it a little bit darker so that it fades into the background more, and just squinting a lot and making the big value decisions instead of small value decisions. You can see how I'm mixing my paint on the palette. I tend to just smear the paint around a lot. I'm nudging the paint between whether it's more red, more yellow, more blue, whether it's higher chroma or lower chroma, whether it's lighter or darker. And I'm thinking of that as sort of a three-dimensional color field. If you're interested in that, I talk about that a lot more in my video of indirect painting on how to paint an egg in color, a single brown egg in color. But essentially, I'm just thinking of this color space as being a three-dimensional color space, whether it's darker or lighter, higher or lower, whether it is more red, more orange, or more yellow, or one of the tertiaries or secondaries in between those by nudging around in a three-dimensional circle, and whether it is more intense or less intense, more chromatic or less chromatic. If it's less chromatic, it's more towards the grays, the whites, or the blacks. If it's more chromatic, it's like those reds and yellows right out of the tube, very, very intense and bright colors. A lot of times when I'm mixing, I'll actually mix a higher chroma color. I've got a really high chroma green there. I'll mix, and then I'll just add a little bit of red, essentially just to dampen down that green. Red is the complementary of green, and so if you mix a little bit of red in, it just lowers the chroma. It can darken a little bit as well, depending on the circumstances. Adding red to a green will darken it. Yellow is the complementary color of purple, but if you add yellow to purple, it'll lighten it a little bit just because yellow is a little higher value. So when you're deciding your hue, value, chroma, you're essentially juggling several different objects in the air, and every single one affects every single other one.